You already know something is off. You feel it in the quiet moments. When the conversation runs dry and you're sitting right next to someone you love, but you might as well be on opposite sides of the planet. That feeling, that invisible wall between you and the people who matter most, that's what we're going to destroy today. And look, if you've ever felt like no matter what you say it comes out wrong, if you've ever felt misunderstood by the people closest to you, if you've ever gone to bed wondering why your relationships feel so exhausting instead of energizing, then this video was made specifically for you. Not for everyone, for you. Here's the thing that nobody talks about. Most people spend their entire lives surrounded by people and still feel completely alone. Think about that. You can have a full contact list, a busy social calendar, a partner, friends, family, and still feel like nobody truly gets you. That's not a character flaw, that's a connection crisis. And it's more common than you could ever imagine. Now before we go any deeper, I want to be upfront with you. We've built something for the people who are serious about genuinely transforming the way they connect. It's linked in the description below. But here's the thing, this video is for everyone. Whether you ever look at that or not, what I'm about to share with you has the power to change the quality of every single relationship in your life starting today. But if you're the kind of person who's tried everything and still feels stuck, if you're the kind of person who knows they deserve deeper, richer, more meaningful relationships, that program might just be the thing you never knew you needed. Most people will scroll past it. That's fine. It wasn't designed for most people. Let's get into the real stuff. Picture this. You're having a conversation with someone you care about deeply. Maybe it's your partner. Maybe it's your best friend. Maybe it's a family member. The conversation starts fine, but within minutes there's this subtle tension. You can feel it rising. Words start to feel like weapons. Silences feel like accusations. And by the end, nobody feels heard. Nobody feels understood. And you both walk away more distant than when you started. If that scenario felt familiar in your chest just now, that's because it's real. That's happening to you right now in some version of that scene. And the worst part is this. You're not even sure what went wrong. You replayed the conversation in your head 100 times. You tried to figure out where the wire got crossed. But the truth is, if nobody ever taught you the mechanics of real human connection, then you're operating with a broken toolkit and blaming yourself for the results. That is not fair to you. Here's what most people get completely wrong. They think connection is about talking more, about being funnier, more interesting, more entertaining. So they talk. And they talk. And they wonder why people drift. Real connection has almost nothing to do with talking. It has everything to do with making another person feel something they rarely feel anywhere else. Safe, seen, like they actually matter. And when you get that right, something extraordinary happens. People lean in, people open up, people start to trust you in ways that feel almost shocking compared to how your relationships used to feel. That shift, it doesn't take years. It doesn't take a complete personality transformation. It takes understanding a few fundamental things about how human beings actually connect at a deep level. Let's talk about the cost of staying where you are. Because I want you to actually feel this. Not just think about it, but feel it. Every day that your relationships stay surface level, every day that you carry that quiet loneliness that you never really talk about, every day that a misunderstanding chips away at a relationship you value, those are days you're never getting back. Researchers who study human well-being say over and over again that the quality of your relationships is one of the single greatest predictors of your happiness, your health, and how long you actually live. This isn't motivational fluff. This is data. Shallow relationships and chronic loneliness are being connected to higher rates of anxiety, depression, cardiovascular disease, and cognitive decline. The cost of weak connections is not just emotional. It's physical. It's years off your life. Now flip that. Flip it completely. Because this is where things get interesting. People who master the art of genuine human connection report dramatically different life experiences. Not slightly better, dramatically different. They move through conflict and come out closer on the other side. They have conversations that leave both people feeling energized rather than drained. They build trust quickly, naturally, in a way that used to feel impossible. Their relationships at home, at work, with friends, all of it changes. And here's the number that will stop you in your tracks. Studies on longevity consistently show that people with strong, meaningful social connections live significantly longer and report far higher levels of daily happiness and life satisfaction than those who are isolated or stuck in shallow relationships. This isn't about having more relationships, it's about having better ones. So how do you actually do it? How do you go from where you are to where you want to be? The first thing to understand is that every person you meet is walking around with an invisible sign around their neck that says, "Make me feel important." They want to feel like they matter, not in a needy way, in a deeply human way. And the moment you stop trying to be interesting and start trying to understand, everything shifts. The moment you ask the question that goes one level deeper than anyone else bothers to go, You get access to a part of that person that almost nobody else ever sees. And when someone feels genuinely understood by you, they become loyal, they become trusting, they become drawn to you in a way that feels almost magnetic. Think about the last time someone truly listened to you. Not just waited for their turn to speak, but actually listened. Where their whole presence said, "I'm here and what you're saying matters." How rare was that? How did that make you feel? That person, whoever they were, you probably still think about them. You probably still feel safe around them. That's the power of real presence in a conversation. Now, here's a pattern that destroys more relationships than almost anything else, and it's one most people never even notice in themselves. The need to fix, advise, and solve before the other person even feels heard. Someone shares something painful, and immediately the brain kicks in with solutions, with silver linings, with comparisons. What that communicates without meaning to is that their pain is a problem to be dealt with rather than an experience to be witnessed. And people feel that. They may not name it, but they feel it and they pull back. And then over time, they stop sharing, they stop being vulnerable, and the relationship hollows out from the inside. The shift is almost painfully simple once you see it. Before you solve anything, before you offer anything, just let them feel heard, fully, completely, without agenda. That simple pivot has saved relationships that were on the absolute edge of breaking. It has turned strangers into close friends in a single conversation. It has unlocked levels of intimacy and partnerships that hadn't been felt in years. But let's go even deeper. Because the surface level stuff is just the beginning. The people who truly master connection understand something about human psychology that most people stumble through without ever realizing. Every person has a core emotional need that drives almost everything they do. Every argument that confuses you, every defensive response you don't understand, every wall someone puts up around themselves, almost always traces back to one of those unmet core needs. When you learn to recognize those needs in the people around you, and when you start meeting them intentionally, the change in your relationships is not gradual. It's sudden, it's dramatic. People literally soften in front of you, the defensiveness drops, the walls come down, and what you're left with is real. Now think about the time you've already spent in your life feeling disconnected. Think about the arguments that lasted way longer than they should have. The drift that happened with someone you used to be so close with. The friendships that faded not because of a fight, but because of a slow, quiet distance that neither of you knew how to close. Think about all the energy you've spent trying to figure out why certain relationships feel so hard. What if most of that was solvable? Not eventually. Now, that's the invitation here, not to become someone you're not, but to become more fully who you already are in your relationships. The version of you that connects deeply, that communicates clearly, that moves through friction without losing the bond. That version exists. It's not a fantasy, it's just undeveloped. Here's what I've watched happen when people actually commit to this work. Partnerships that were on the verge of collapse finding their way back to each other. Not because the problems disappeared, but because the connection became strong enough to hold them through the hard parts. People who described themselves as bad at relationships discovering that they were never bad at connection, they just never had the right tools. Professionals watching their careers completely transform, because the ability to connect deeply is one of the most valuable skills in every room you walk into. This is not soft, this is not abstract, this is the most practical investment you can make in the quality of your actual daily life. Now here's the honest truth. Everything in this video, you can take and use today. Right now. In your next conversation. With the next person who matters to you. Nothing I've shared needs to stay theoretical. The concepts are simple, the practice just takes intention. But if you want to go beyond today's video, if you want the full picture, the step-by-step framework, the deeper psychological tools, the structured path that takes you from where your relationships are right now to where you've always known they could be, then the program linked in the description below is the next step. Look, most people will read the description and keep scrolling. And their relationships will stay exactly where they are. But every once in a while someone watches a video like this and something clicks. They recognize that the cost of staying stuck is far greater than the investment of finally doing something about it. If that's you, and you'll know if it is, the link is there. The next chapter of your relationships is waiting. Don't let another ordinary day be the reason you stayed where you were.